Okay, guys, I'm going to try something new. I really don't know what I'm doing. I think I'm just bored and experimenting with things. Um, First of all, if you're new, just subscribe to me if you could, because I need 1,000 subscribers to live stream from my phone. I guess I can from my laptop, but I'd much rather be able to live stream from the phone. And I guess to occupy my time, I'm going to just read news stories of interest to me, show other things of interest to me, and talk about my life. Things will change as time goes on. I'm like trying to learn this little new software program where I can kind of show my desktop and my camera and whatever else. But to get things out of the way, if you could donate to me, I'd really, really appreciate it because my life is a mess. It just is. I have a severe anxiety disorder, and I've had it since I was 15. I'm in my early 40s now, and I have gone through a lot of stuff, which I'll talk about throughout these different little broadcasts. And some of it will be repeating, so new people can hear the same stuff. But I'd really like to get to know other people out there, and I'd like you to get to know me. And, the trolls I'll just ignore, you know, and everything. But the reason for the donations is okay, if you look at the room right now, I've been living in a motel room for the past almost 2 years. And in 2 months, it'll be 2 years. And the reason why I'm living in a motel room is because I went homeless for a little while and I was staying at different people's houses. And the last person I was staying at uh, treated me really, really bad. And then one of his friends I stayed friends with, and then that person tried to run me over with their car because they're crazy. And I was hanging around crazy people to not be alone. And I have realized that it's much better to be alone because these people are nuts. I don't ever see anybody. Like, I'm really isolated, which is not healthy. Okay, so the donations. I talked about I had severe anxiety. I let my mouth go to complete crap, and um, it's expensive to fix. I need to have my molars extracted, top molars extracted. Like, they're not just repairable. It's been so long. Like, it's kind of embarrassing to even talk about this, but people need to talk about their teeth because it's one of the hidden things that people just don't talk about the problems with it. Growing up, I didn't wasn't I was not taken to the dentist, and I have bad anxiety about blood and everything else, and I let things go, and so now I'm missing molars, like they fell out, not completely, like, but they're down to the gum line, top molars as well. Well, these aren't down to the gum line, but they're broken enough they have to be extracted. Because I did manage to get up the nerve to see a dentist to see what was going on, had the x-ray. I have bone loss, some bone loss here and some bone loss there, which is also expensive to have fixed. Um, and then ultimately, besides repairing the bone loss, the extractions, caps, because this tooth in front, there's only like 25% of it fell out, like broke off. This one's chipped. You need caps. Possibly this one can't be capped anymore. It might have to have a single veneer um, to make me look normal, because it's embarrassing. It's like, it's not like, not that I'm in a relationship, but it's not like I'd kiss anybody because I feel gross about myself. I, it's also like, and people would think that there'd be a bad smell, and there's not. It's probably because I take good care of what's left. Like, I use peroxide, baking soda, mouthwash, you know, floss. That's important, of course. And my family had bad teeth, and my entire family, like, they have plates or they have just missing teeth, and so I think part of it's genetic because it wasn't like I was going around not taking care of them. It's just that they degrade it, and if I had seen a dentist probably every 6 months throughout my life, it probably would have been fine. But that's not what happened. This is where I'm at. So ultimately, after everything is done with that, I'm going to need to get implants. Number one, because eating is very difficult. Um, I have to eat soft food for years now. Like, I mean, literally, like, like canned beans, peanut butter, milk. I can't eat steak. I can't eat lobster. I can't, um, unless a burger is really soft, I can't eat that. It's difficult. Like, it's I've adapted to it though. Like I don't think about it. Like I don't think, oh, I can't eat this. It's just slowly over time as I lost more and more, I was slowly adapting. And I try to pick the healthiest foods that I can. Of course, you can like, use a little blender and make milkshakes and stuff. I don't have an oven or stove in this motel room. Over here, I have a little mini fridge and a microwave. Um, oh, and rice is really easy too because you don't have to really chew it. I mean, like you kind of chew it, but you don't really have to. It's not something that's difficult to do. Um, so with implants, the reason for those is not just because, oh, I want to look nice and I think I deserve implants. It's because you will continue to lose bone in your jaw as time goes on because unless there's pressure from chewing, the bone starts to recede, and that's what I already starting to have. So implants are expensive, and I've heard things before, like from people like, oh, go to Costa Rica. Okay, I have severe anxiety. I'm not leaving the country. Like, and dental schools, I'm not looking to like go somewhere where someone's training, even if they have a real dentist next to them and all that, like that, I'm already scared enough. I have to just see a normal dentist that I can build a relationship with and work things out somehow with a payment plan or something to get that taken care of. So there's that. I am really at a loss as to what I'm going to even do with myself. I mean, I've been in a motel for so long and my credit's bad. Like I royally screwed up my life. It wasn't like all me. Like there was circumstances, like my family died. After my mom died, my father ended up marrying, for lack of a better term, a gold digger, and he left her everything. My family had money. It wasn't like we were struggling. Like we weren't mega rich, but a lot of people would probably consider us that. And he wrote me completely out of the will, gave everything to her, and she lives in the house that I grew up in. I'll talk more about that in the future. Um, I've been screwed over by a few people, and bad choices on my part with picking people that I decided to hang out with, and it just kind of snowballed over time. Like it wasn't like this gigantic fall. It was just like this slow downward thing where I got to where I am. Talked about the anxiety, so I cannot take benzodiazepines. Those are like Xanax, Valium, Ativan, Klonopin. You've probably heard of those. I build a tolerance to them very, very quickly, and I go through a very long, protracted withdrawal. Um, very, very sick from those. I can't even just take them once because it has like a reverse reaction in me. Like as soon as they wear off, my anxiety is like 3 times higher, and it goes on sometimes for weeks or months. So it's not something I can do. So then you have SSRIs like Prozac, Paxil, Lexapro, Zoloft. You've heard of those, I'm sure. And I took Lexapro a few years ago, and several years ago, like 5 years ago, and I noticed. Well, I started to get like I can faint from anxiety, but this was different. Like it was causing it. I'd be walking like without having anxiety, and I'd start to pass out. That can happen on Lexapro. And also, I noticed that my hair was thinning in the back, so I stopped. And I didn't take anything for a while. And then recently, in the past couple months, I took Paxil, and I decided, I'm just gonna take this drug. Hopefully, it helps, and I'm just gonna stay on it the rest of my life because I don't like feeling how I feel. I don't like the anxiety. I don't like the depression. And so I did, and then it started to cause thinning of my hair again in the back, and then I was on it longer than Lexapro, and it started to stretch forward. It's kind of hard to see, but like you can see my scalp. I know I have a very, very short haircut, but in this light, I lost like 30% of my hair, and psych drugs can do that, and it can take 6 months, 5 to 6 months to even grow back. I hope to God it does because it's driving me crazy. I get out of the shower, I can see my scalp, and I don't have the head for someone, to be bald. But we'll talk more about that later. Maybe in time it'll grow back because I stopped and I was scared of stopping cold turkey because like they're like, oh, you can get brain zaps, and I've had those before with different psych meds, but thankfully I was only on it for 2 months, and so when I stopped, nothing happened. And well, I mean, I had slight tingling in my brain, but nothing to really write home about. So basically. Um, so I'm like stuck. I can't take SSRIs. I can't take benzodiazepines. Um, the older generation antidepressants I have not taken, like trazodone and stuff, but they can cause hair loss too and all sorts of problems. And I'm like, you know what? Just forget it. I'll suffer. I've been suffering since I was a teenager, and I'll just continue to suffer. But it's hard because there's been periods of my life where I haven't been able to work or hold down a job, and I throw up when I'm anxious. Like, not just feel like I'm going to throw up, I actually throw up, and I can pass out. And the very fact that you can pass out from anxiety, it makes it harder because it's not about just facing your fear and being on a bus with, in a crowd of people and nothing's going to happen. Just, face your fear. It's not like that. Like, if I pass out on the bus, people are going to freak out, and I don't want it. Just, it would make everything worse. So I'm babbling at that point. All right, I'll get back to me in a second. But yeah, if you guys could donate, I'd really appreciate it. Oh, it's $34,000 for the entire reconstruction of my mouth. And that's like the cheaper end of it. Between like having to live and try to sell, that's impossible. I would like need help from people. And I have insurance, but my dental insurance doesn't cover all that. Like, it's considered cosmetic. They consider your teeth, even though bad teeth can cause heart attacks and strokes and all sorts of stuff. You know. And then there's also like, my living situation. I don't know if I should after teeth, which that's like saying like, oh, after that miracle happens, after I get enough donations and income from jobs to with $34,000, then I'd like to maybe buy a small trailer, or I've even considered buying like they're like $55,000 for a one of those vans that you can live in. Like, I legit would live in a van. Like, I don't need much in life, and after everything I've been through, like, and I have bad credit right now, just everything's a mess. I can't even get an apartment. Another reason why I'm in a motel. Thankfully, this place has like weekly rates, and it's like it's a little bit more than an apartment, but it's almost comparable. Of course, it gives me Wi-Fi, which is spotty. It includes the heat, hot water, it includes everything. And so I've been here for like I said, a while. But anyway, all right, enough about me for a second. Let's see. So I'm into a lot of science stuff and religious stuff, conspiracy type, things. So this one is like Israeli scientists print world's first 3D heart, which is exciting to me because I'm hoping that they can do different organs, because who knows if one of us is going to need one someday, and they can use your own cells to do it. And this is from, who's this by? I can't pronounce that. Ido Efrati or something. And I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's like, the future is here and it's alive and beating. Scientists in Tel Aviv University have printed the world's first 3D heart, complete with blood vessels, using personalized ink made from collagen and protein that supports the cell structures and other biological molecules. So that's interesting. I'm not going to play that because I don't want to get a copyright, strike. Let's see. Because it was a small heart. Because it says, true, the heart's the size of a rabbit's and it doesn't actually work yet. Well, at least they printed it, but I guess it needs to work, at some point. We need to develop the printed heart further, he said. The cells need to form the pumping ability, and they can but they can currently contract. Okay, so that's interesting. Oh yeah, it is very, very small. I don't know how well you can see that, but it's a very, very tiny heart. But at least it's something. Because, people on organ transplant lists are waiting forever. And then even when you get the organ transplant, you have to take anti-rejection drugs, and there's, so your immune system doesn't eat your brand new heart because it thinks it's a foreign object in the body. I would like, some type of mechanical thing if they could come up with that. I mean, having your own heart would obviously be best, but a mechanical one that they can put in people at least while they're waiting for a transplant would be nice. I know they have some things like that, but I'm thinking more of a permanent um, thing that they could do. Let's see. It says organ printing involves 3 basic stages. The first, the preprint stage, involving scanning the organ, for instance by MRI. Stage 2 is printing the organ layer by layer. And the third stage involves maturing the printed organ in an appropriate environment. Well, yeah, of course. That's probably going to, they actually, I've read things about them making like external wombs to grow babies in, which would help especially with premature babies, instead of, putting them in a incubator right now, to put them back in the same environment to allow them to grow to the state that they would have before delivery. That would cut back on a lot of preemie deaths that happen. Okay, let's see. I know the lighting is bad. Like, I have a a lamp there, because if I have that one on or that one on over there, the lighting's all wrong. But I'm in a motel, so you have to bear with me. Future brain cloud interface could give us all collective superconsciousness. See, this is where my conspiracy mind comes in, because I do have this thought process that they're going to somehow, how the internet's all connected, they're going to connect us all together. And there's a lot of talk about brain implants and stuff like that. I'm not getting a brain implant. If it was life or death, like maybe, but otherwise, no, I have no interest. I know a lot of people don't have fear about that, but I do, because I don't trust the government, and I don't trust things where something's in my brain, and who knows eventually what they'd be able to control or make you think or do, or it be used as some type of punishment, like if you don't do something that society now deems as acceptable, that they'll give you shocks in your head or something like that. Like, no. Nope. And I'm also kind of like, I'm sure you've heard about brain uploading, like uploading your consciousness to a computer. That's all fine and good, but I don't know if that's actually you. It could be a copy of you, and so you know how you see out your eyes? I don't know if it would be the you that is the observer right now, or just, because what if you made a copy, and like you're out here and the copy's in there, they're both going to say they're you, but you know damn well that thing in there is not you. Well, it might believe it is, but there's a lot of interesting things that are going to come eventually. If I live long enough, I'll see it, and younger people are definitely going to see some crazy stuff. Let's see if there's anything interesting in this. Technology is derived from the work of futurist Ray Kurzweil. If you guys are into transhumanism at all, then you know who that is. He works for Google. He wrote the book The Singularity is Near, which I read. It's a gigantic book, but it's interesting. Let's see. A lot of articles are just, the headline's almost the best, and then you get reading it, and it's like a whole bunch of stuff that like you already kind of knew anyway. Or let's see, talk about how you're going to need supercomputers to do all the processing with all our brains linked and stuff like that. Another thing that started happening too, I'll talk about myself for a second, was last July, my feet and legs started tingling out of nowhere, and I know that can be a sign of diabetes. Think I've seen a doctor? Nope. I mention it because they're tingling right now. I can feel it. And I also think that I've really gotten into some severe nutritional deficiencies. Like, I'm taking a multivitamin and stuff, but it's just not enough. Like, not having a stove or oven, and not being able to eat food like I talked about, that's difficult to chew. You're limited. So recently, like I said, well, not like I said, but recently I started getting a lot of canned vegetables, sodium free, more things like V8, because I was, like I said, I went on Paxil not too long ago, and then my hair started to fall out. But the reason why is I was going through a very, very rough time, and I couldn't take it anymore. So I was like, well, forget it. I'll just take this. And, the goal was to fix me, but it didn't, obviously. And, but I was living on things like ramen noodle, cookies. Milk has nutrition in it, but most of the things I was eating was just junk. And I don't have a car, and I didn't feel well enough to walk to supermarkets or take the bus to supermarkets. So I was like living out of gas station food. And it went on longer than I thought it did. When I really thought about it, I was like, I don't know if my legs are tingling from a nutritional deficiency or if I have diabetes, because my father had diabetes. And I don't know, like I said, a mess. I am a mess. Let's see. Yeah, that one wasn't that great. That's another headline. Artificial intelligence is making pesto even more delicious. Let's see. This field that it's called cyber agriculture. And our goal is to design open source technology at the intersection of data acquisition, sensing, and machine learning, and apply it to agricultural research. Let's get to the pesto part. Oh, okay, there's like if you look at the screen, you can see like the inside place where they're growing it. Located in the warehouse at MIT Bates Laboratory in Middleton, Massachusetts, the open ag plants are grown in shipping containers that have been retrofitted so that environmental conditions, include lighting, temperature, and humidity, can be carefully controlled. Oh, okay, so I guess it is the algorithm is helping by keeping everything perfect from water to temperature and light. So of course you're going to get better plants. Did you guys hear about the lab grown meat? Like they're growing meat in laboratories. So hamburger. I think they're working on fish. I know they have chicken, but I guess it's still kind of expensive to make it. But the price has been coming down. So eventually, like you're going to go to the store and buy hamburger or chicken or whatever, and it's going to be from a lab. It's not even going to be from the actual animal. And of course, vegans support this because there's no animal dying. It's just meat being grown, basically like cloning meat. I don't know. It grosses me out to a point. I know it's genetically the same. It's the same cells, but I don't know. I think sometimes we mess with things and we have like we think that we know a lot, but we don't know enough. Like I'm not anti-GMO, like genetically modified organisms, but at the same time I am because I say, oh well, it's healthy. We've been eating it now for like I think corn for like 2 decades or something. Well, that's and there's of course people who say, oh, it's more likely to cause cancer, but there's like no real proof of that. But like we don't know what happens if you're eating that every generation. Like so it might be your great grandkids that are affected by everything that we're eating now. And that I know that can happen because I raise, um, well, I used to, I don't now in a motel room, but I used to raise painted lady butterflies and monarch butterflies. And I would experiment with the caterpillars. I used to take B12 and different vitamins and spray it on the leaves to see if I could get them bigger, just stupid experiments that I would do. And B12 and lysine, I think it was, I'd spray on the leaves. Lysine's an amino acid, and I'd spray that on the leaves. And they actually grew a little bit faster. More of them survived than normal, and they were fine. Well, they appeared fine, but when they laid their eggs, none of their eggs ever hatched. But the other ones that I had separated in the control, their eggs did hatch. Another experiment I did is if you take like a pea like seed or a bean seed, and you put that cup on top of your Wi-Fi router, and then you put one in a different area of the house, or way away from it, like you'll see weird stuff. Like they say Wi-Fi doesn't do anything, but grow a little pea on top compared to some another one, just you can see the difference. And it's doing something. Not that you have your head right against the Wi-Fi router, but I'm just saying in general, who knows what all these waves, are doing. Let's see. Andrew Yang's goal, steer us away from a bleak dystopian future. If you guys know, he's running for president on the Democratic ticket. He's very much into basic income. If you don't know what basic income is, it's where everyone gets the same amount every month because as jobs are being slowly replaced, like, when self-driving cars come, there'll be no more taxi drivers, truck drivers, bus drivers, because those vehicles will be driving themselves. So that's a major job loss. Hotels are moving more towards automation for check-in and check-out. When you go to the grocery store now, or even certain fast food restaurants, like you can at fast food restaurants, you can do your order yourself and then pay and then just pick up your food. And then at supermarkets and such, you can check yourself out. So, that cuts back on jobs. So basically, as the computers are and, robots are doing all these jobs, there'll be a certain amount of profit taken from these corporations and it goes into a giant pool and it's divided up amongst the people. So like you get something called basic income, which could be $1,000 a month. And then if you have another job, like it doesn't matter how rich you are or how poor you are, you get the same amount. Like, so it's kind of hard to explain. I'll get into it more another time, but yeah, it's called basic income. It's UBI if you want to look it up. So he's into all that stuff. And I'm not going to get too much into his politics or what my politics are, at least not at this time. But he's interesting. He became a meme on Facebook, and it was called Yang Gang and Yang Gang 2020. And check out the memes. Sometimes they're kind of funny. Let's see. Nanobots in the brain make it possible to access the internet simply by thinking, and that's what I was talking about earlier. I'm not putting nanobots in my brain. Like I don't care. I mean, they obviously don't stick them in your brain directly, and nanobots are small enough where they can be injected into your bloodstream, in theory, because we don't have those type of nanobots yet. And then they can, see, I say I wouldn't have nanobots for my brain. But I probably would use nanobots because you can, in theory, program these things to go in and clean out clogging in your heart, break them down to harmless material, and then your nanobots are excreted through your kidneys. You urinate them out, because they're tiny, and they can do small little surgeries if they're programmed to do so, like small things behind your eye, like if you have retinal problems, disassemble tumors, cancerous tumors, or hunt out cancerous cells that are traveling through your body. So these things are good, but it's a double-edged sword, a lot of this stuff. Like, you can't just say, oh yeah, it's perfectly fine, I'll do whatever. You have to think about that. Like, do you want something that's not leaving your body, in your brain, that's connecting you to the internet? Oh, it's kind of sketchy. But I'm going to keep this one a little bit short because, like I said, it's new software, and I'm just not sure what I'm going to do yet with everything. And I have to see when I upload it, even what the quality is on this. But I'm going to be just honest about my life, even though parts of it will be embarrassing, or because I think it can help other people. I'm not the only person who, I might not be a common person, but I'm not the only person who has problems out there, or who has these dental issues, or whatnot. Or my interests obviously will match other people's interests, and maybe you won't like watching me at all. That's fine. I'm just like I said, trying to occupy myself, and just decide what I am doing with my life. So now you can tell someone, I saw someone on YouTube who needs like $34,000 for his teeth, and he talked about living in a van. And I will talk about when I was homeless temporarily, though. God, it was awful. Not right now. I won't talk about it. I'll talk about it later. But anyway, all right, I got to open this screen up and click stop, and then hope it all worked. And I will see you guys all later on, hopefully. Enjoy your day.